Welcome to Addicted to Busy, the podcast specifically for overachieving property managers who are dying for a little more work-life balance in their lives. Each week, we dismantle all the BS that holds us back. You'll learn how to nix those tricky, self-sabotaging habits so that you have the time, energy, and motivation to create what you really want in life. If you're looking to shift from overcommitted to overjoyed, this is the podcast for you. Let's do this. Now, your host, Anna Haviliana.
Hello, and welcome back to Addicted to Busy. Those of you who have listened to the podcast, you know that typically I like to script everything out, but today I am going to completely improvise this episode and just do it off of the cuff and give you a live stream of consciousness. And the reason why I'm going to improvise is because I want to talk about my experience taking an improv class. I have absolutely zero interest in becoming an improv performer. However, part of my goals for 2024 include becoming a better public speaker. And one thing that I've noticed over the last couple of years of speaking at various events, managers meetings, and conferences is that I heavily rely on a script. And as I think about my future and the future of this coaching practice, I know that I want to connect with more people, and that requires me to become better at communicating and essentially better at speaking in front of people. And I would love to let go of my type A-ness. I think that being type A is why I succeed in management. But again, sometimes our best traits can become our biggest downfalls. And I wanted to challenge myself to be more free-flowing. I also wanted to challenge myself to have more fun, as my personality at times can be very, very uptight. And so I got the idea probably about a year ago that it might be fun to take an improv class. For those of you who love to read books about management, planning, personal development, I was also inspired to take this class because I started reading the book Yes and Lessons from the Second City, which was written by Kelly Leonard and Tom Yorton. It's a great book that goes over the history of the Second City, but also talks about different improv techniques that you can use in the workplace. So my experience taking this class was wonderful and awful all at the same time. And I encourage you, whoever is listening, if it is available in your area and if it's within your financial means to do so, to take an improv class just once, just for the experience. This was a 2-month course that I took on Tuesday nights, and I'll be completely transparent. It made me want to crawl out of my skin. It was not comfortable, but it was wildly fun. There were many times where I would say something or I would partake in one of the improv games, and whatever I said would fall completely flat. And that's humbling. You definitely have to be able to process emotions, to keep your head in the game and not get too down on yourself so that you are ready for your next attempt. And while that was challenging, there were also moments where I would make a funny and things would come out of my mouth that surprised me, that I had that level of wit, intellect, or spontaneity hidden within me. Do I think that I'm ever going to become an improv performer? Hell no, absolutely not. That is not in the cards for me. That's nothing that I'm ever going to pursue in the future. Although I would definitely take a second improv class because of all of the skills that I learned. What I really found valuable about this class was that it required you to try something, get a reaction, and then very quickly get back on the horse and keep going. You didn't really have time to wallow in self-pity if your joke fell flat, and you certainly didn't have any time to wallow in any joy if your joke managed to make people laugh. You just had to keep going. Throughout the various activities and skills that we learned, I was also reminded and reacquainted with certain feelings that I would feel while leading meetings. A few of you, if you've listened to past episodes, you may have heard me tell the story about how nervous I used to be when I was leading meetings with our ownership groups. And during a few of those meetings, I would mispronounce words, not just once, but multiple times. I think the example that I used was we once had a tenant who had the word expeditors in their business name. Fuck. I just Did it again. It's expediters. Okay, anyways, see, this is my point. I say dumb things all the time. But I remember leading meetings, and it wasn't until after the meeting was over and my team was recapping what I had said that I realized that I was mispronouncing things all of the time. And that happened during this class. I said things wrong. I got figures of speech incorrect, and I got called out for it. There was one exercise that we had to do where we were making puns. So the pun revolved around the start of a joke, which says, 185 blanks walk into a bar. The bartender says we're closed. And the audience gets to decide what the theme is, and then you have to try to come up with a pun. So the theme was shoes. So my joke was 185 shoes walked into a bar. The bartender says we're closed, and the shoes say, shoot, we were just hoping to tie one off. But what I didn't realize was that the figure of speech was to tie one on. Now, I didn't realize it at the time until someone up in the class got up, said my same punchline, but with the correct verbiage, that I had said it incorrectly. And I got those same feelings of shame and embarrassment that happened anytime I mispronounced something in the meeting. But that was one of the reasons why I'm so proud that I took this class, is because I willingly entered into scenarios where I would be faced with the potential of saying something wrong. And it was a much safer space for me to make those mistakes, which really built up my confidence in speaking my voice. And I would like to think that I'm getting better at speaking my voice without being afraid of making mistakes, and also increasing my ability to just get back to whatever the task was and moving forward without too much self-beratement. Throughout the last 2 months, there have been many times where I have tried to come up with every excuse as to why I could not go to class. But I knew deep down that the only reason why I would skip the class is because I was trying to avoid the potential of making a mistake, and I was trying to avoid the potential of feeling silly or feeling dumb. I had a lot of nerves every time that I showed up. But I'll tell you what, I showed up for all 8 classes. The last class, we have to do a performance in front of other people. I am terrified. And I am so proud that I stuck it out and gave it my all. I'm extremely proud that I went to all of the classes. I'm proud that I put myself out there for a live performance, and I'm really proud that I consciously chose to do something that made me uncomfortable. I'm very hopeful that the skills that I learned are going to translate into becoming a better public speaker and to also becoming a much better listener, because that was a big part of what we learned in class, was how to listen better, listen intently, and be fully immersed in the moment so that you can deliver your best performance. And I think that these are all skills that translate not only into our roles in the office, but also in the roles that we have in our relationships with others and our relationship to ourselves. You hear me talk a lot on this podcast about goal setting. I'm very passionate about goal setting because I really believe that when you set out to do things that you have never done before, you force yourself to change, you force yourself to grow, you force yourself to come upon your own ego, upon your own limitations, and you test yourself over and over and over again. So, as I mentioned before, I do not have any desire to be an improv performer. I do have a very, very strong desire to educate and connect with other property managers who want to take better care of their health and who want to have better work-life balance and who want to reconnect with their hobbies, passions, sports, family, you name it. And a piece of that is being a better communicator. A big piece of that is being able to have free flowing conversations in front of a large audience. It's terrifying. For as much as I love this work and for as much as I love what I've created with this podcast and with the speaking events and with the coaching programs, it's still uncomfortable. It's still a challenge. But when you're committed to something and when you're passionate about it, you'll do just about anything to make sure that it happens. And for me, that included taking an improvisational class. Chances are, if you're listening to this podcast, especially if you're somebody who listens often, you are likely a goal setter as well. If nothing else, you're at least a high achiever and want to do a great job in your career. And when you're somebody who wants to do well or wants to try new things, you will inevitably be faced with discomfort. And I think it's really powerful when we can actively choose the ways and places in which we want to feel and develop that discomfort. I had so much fun over the last 2 months. I got to experience an art form that I'd never experienced before. I got to think creatively. I got to laugh my ass off for 2 hours a week every night with some of the most kind human beings that I've ever met. I got to witness myself fail, and I got to surprise myself from time to time. I was just FaceTiming with one of my good friends last week, and she has signed up for her first marathon. And of course, I am very, very excited for her. As you know, I love long distance running. And what I was trying to explain was that it's not just about the running. What I love about long distance running is that it really forces you to look at every aspect of your life, right? So you have to make sure that you're managing your time well. You have to make sure that you are prioritizing sleep. You definitely have to be great with time management because it is a huge, huge, huge time commitment. And you've also got to be able to monitor your energy levels and then understand how you show up as a human when you're tired or when you're exhausted. Anyone who has run a long distance run, you know that you don't walk out on the other side of the finish line without becoming a changed person. And I feel the same way about my journey with public speaking. There are so many different facets that I have had to learn. The ultimate goal is just that I spread this message with as many people as possible because I know that the information I'm sharing was life-changing for me. So I want everyone to know it. But it's not as simple as just saying it to people. When you have a message that you want to share on a stage, there are so many things that you have to do. First of all, you have to create, practice, and make content that resonates with people, that makes sense to other people, that is valuable to other people. You have to market yourself. You have to be willing to put yourself out there and make offers. I can't tell you how many offers and proposals I have sent out that have either had no response or have been turned down. And you've got to be able to take a lot of rejection without giving up. And on the flip side of that, you also have to manage your time, especially if you're traveling and trying to manage a full-time job on top of it. And I've had to practice speaking and give myself feedback and watch my tapes back, which I hate doing, and show up and continually try to improve, be more articulate, and be more engaging. So part of my journey included an improv class. And I still have a long way to go. I still have a lot to learn. I still have a lot of experiences that I have yet to learn my lessons from. The point of this podcast is not to convince you to take an improv class, although if it's something that you're up for or slightly interested in, I highly recommend it. It was a lot of fun. It's a wonderful way to make new friends and also have some time in your week where you are going to just laugh and enjoy yourself. But what I would invite you to consider is for whatever goal it is that you are striving towards, there are likely lessons that you have yet to learn that you need in order to get to where you want to be. So I'd consider for yourself, how can I intentionally learn those lessons? How can I intentionally put myself into the discomfort that's going to help me grow and help me get to where I want to be? I'd even invite you to play around with asking yourself, how can I have more fun on the way to my goal? You can intentionally choose to have fun as you tackle a goal or task that you've never accomplished before. So today I'm celebrating that I tried something that put me completely out of my comfort zone. And I'm also celebrating that it's over. Thanks for joining me today. Again, I encourage you to get more intentional about the steps that you are taking towards your own personal goals and making sure that you intentionally choose to have fun along the way. As always, if you are loving this podcast, I would love to coach you for free. So sign up for a free coaching session. You can find those at my website, annahavliana.com. And in the top right-hand corner, click Get Free Coaching. You can try coaching out, see if it works for you. If it doesn't, no sweat. If you love the session, I will tell you about our group coaching program. And if you don't, no sweat. You never have to try it again. As always, thanks for being here with me. I love you all. Keep going.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Addicted to Busy. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. This helps others find the show, and we greatly appreciate it. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.